Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mental Elephant. Today, we are doing 5 questions, one cause, where we ask different people in the community 5 different questions based on one cause, mental health. Today, we have the founder of Puzzle 2020, Asante Foster, who is going to talk to us about Alzheimer's and what she does with her organization. So, first, I want to definitely say thank you for coming and joining us at such late notice. You are actually going to be our first guest for 5 questions, one cause, and I'm super excited to talk about this topic. So, go ahead and get us started. Please tell us who you are, your credentials, and where you're from.
Right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate all you do with this platform and definitely spreading mental health and wellness within our community. As you know, this is something that I don't know why for so long we kind of stray away from that. Like even talking about, having a therapist is so like, oh, we can't talk about that. That's only for crazy people. Yet it's okay to walk down the street, right, and talk out loud, and you're totally fine. That's normal. And so again, I appreciate this platform so that we can kind of, get rid of that stuff and get to the root of our mental health so that we can get on a track for mental wellness. Yes, I'm the founder of Puzzle 2020. And initially this started off as a documentary titled Puzzled, which will actually, yes, focus on people under the age of 65 and Alzheimer's, right? But how to get ahead of Alzheimer's, how to prevent it, reduce some of the risk factors that are circling around it. Just looking at you right now, you have two of the risk factors that you cannot change. You're a woman and you're African American, right? Women are more likely than men to have Alzheimer's. African American women are twice as likely to have Alzheimer's than the national average. We can't change that, right? Nor do I want to change that. But there are other things, risk factors that we can change. And so that was when I decided to start Puzzle 2020 as like, wait a second. Okay, yes, we'll do the documentary, and then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, that was an opportunity for me to push even further for mental health and mental wellness. Because as we know, the pandemic really like reset the entire world. And in my opinion, set us all on an Alzheimer's track. Like a lot of people think, oh, Alzheimer's is just for old people. I don't have to worry about that right now. No, you do. And yes, you should, because it's scientifically, medically proven that by the time you've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's over the age of 65, you really started showing signs 20, 30 years prior.
That's crazy. Then that's something that is definitely not talked about, especially in the African American community, with it being such a high risk. That is astounding, actually, to know. Whew, okay. So first of all, thank you once again for coming on and giving us that. Just that information alone has already made this worth it. So our next question is, what is the goal? So what is your ultimate goal with Puzzle 2020?
My ultimate goal is to become a one stop shop for mental wellness. And I stress wellness because we talk a lot about mental health. And when we say mental health, it always sounds like issues, which they are, right? Stress, depression, anxiety, bipolar, and a plethora of other mental health illnesses. For me, I want to focus on the wellness, the solutions behind that. Like I mentioned earlier, yes, we cannot change being female, nor can we change being Black, right? But we can work on our lifestyle. We can change how we sleep. We can change what we eat. We can change exercising, the social circles that we're involved in, right? Always just trying to be around stuff that's positive. It's so very easy to go to the negative first, right? Gossip is also considered negative, right? We're very quick to do that. We're starting to lose finding value in uncomfortable situations, right? Understanding that everything will always work out because we're so stuck on the problem, the negative aspect of it. Yes, easier said than done when you're not sinking in depression or anxiety at the time. And let's be all the way honest, right? I'm speaking from Exhibit A, me, right? Not what I'm seeing, not what I'm thinking, not what I'm reading. Yes, the research definitely supports it, but I also suffered from that, right? I suffered from depression. I had, depression for a long time. And just sinking in that and then looking at my daughter and realizing, like, okay, I can't go out like that. Discovering that Alzheimer's has plagued my family tree on both sides. Both my grandmothers died from it, great aunts, great uncles. My grandfather currently has it. I'm like, wait a minute. And discovering that outside that depression, anxiety, stress, those mental health issues are somewhat gateways to Alzheimer's. So I'm like, wait a minute, I already have, right, again, the risk factors in addition to depression. Like, wait a second.
Like everything is kind of starting
Right,
to point towards one direction. I'm with you.
right. And for me, excuse me, it was important to share that because we always think that it's an old person's disease. It's not. That's when it shows up. But you're on that track right now if you're depressed, if you're suffering from anxiety, from stress. All of those things make a big difference.
I would definitely say that that's probably like the highlight of this entire interview, and definitely the main thing that we want you all to take away. So let's go ahead and hop right on into question number three. Definitely, what led you into this field of work? So, what led you into wanting to make a change and wanting to push in the community for the Alzheimer's discussion?
I was definitely not led, I was called.
I love
No
that.
one no one says when they're younger, oh, when I grow up, I'm gonna be an Alzheimer's advocate, right? Like,
Accurate.
have you ever heard that? Actually, mine, my journey began when I really lost everything: family, friends, finances. And the pandemic made it all worse. Um, Seeking in my own mental health illnesses. Um, Actually, at the time, and this was right before the pandemic, I was helping a great aunt of mine who was suffering from Alzheimer's. And I loved every moment with her. Like, yes, she repeated herself 50 million times, but the more she kept talking, I'm like, can I get this? This is what I'm thinking in my head because now I'm replaying, wait a minute, both my grandmothers, you have this, other great aunts, great uncles, my grandfather, like, oh my God, I can get this. My daughter can get this, right? Let me research this. Like, can I have this now? Because yeah, I saw both my grandmothers, but I thought that was normal.
Right.
Both my grandmothers, right? So I'm like, yeah, this is what happens when you get old. And the more I kept researching this and discovering women are more likely, African American women are more likely, I started to get like upset. Like, why don't we know about this? We know about everything else. Why are we talking about this? And so the research just prompted me to say, you know what? I could do something about it, but what? Like, I'm not a doctor, right? This isn't my field. For me, it's really entertainment, producer, TV writer. Um, and so I was like, okay, that's how the start of the documentary came about. Like, oh, I could do a documentary about it, because what travels faster?
Right.
Right, get this out to the world because Alzheimer's is a global disease. And then, like I said, when the pandemic hit, it was an opportunity to even push our product, which is the gratitude bank here. And our gratitude bank,
Ooh, I love that.
one. I will definitely make sure you get one. It's our gratitude bank. It comes with our logo, meditation music, and then when you open it up, it has 60 grateful cards and a pen with a stylus. So it's multifunctional. And what I discovered, because I don't want to present just another problem to the world, right? In my Oprah voice, you get Alzheimer's, you get Alzheimer's, you get Alzheimer's, right? Exactly. But what's a solution? Or what's something to help derail it, get ahead of Alzheimer's? And I discovered that practicing gratitude on a regular basis was scientifically proven to reduce stress, depression, and anxiety. So
Okay.
wait a minute. I'm suffering from this right now. And this is like in the middle of the pandemic, right? And then, of course, I have a 13-year-old daughter. So I'm seeing some of this in her. And like, we cannot go out like this.
Right.
Let me try to write down what I'm grateful for every day, right? I have nothing to lose doing that. And when I started doing that, I really started to feel better. Like, what am I doing differently? Right? Because the diet is still the same, healthy. I'm getting my sleep, I'm doing everything else, but something just felt different. And I was like, oh my God, it's writing down what I'm grateful for. And so because it started to work for us, I was like, let's package this up and sell it to other people. And so we did. Initially, this product was supposed to be a byproduct of the documentary to say, hey, here's a problem, here's a solution, or something to help, right? But
Right.
because what happened during the pandemic, it was like, well, it's an opportunity to push this first,
Right.
right? Help people during a time when we all needed the most. So I say all that to say it really did start with me losing everything, myself affected by mental health illness, watching my family suffer from Alzheimer's, and really wanting to help other people learn about this and not look at this as an old person's disease.
Right.
Like, we need to dispel that. Yes, age is a factor when having Alzheimer's, but if you are suffering right now in your 30s with mental illness, you on the Alzheimer's track.
Which is definitely something I think, like I said, 100% needs to be talked about heavily in the African American community. And I love that you went into how this impacted your mental health. Your next question was actually, how has this impacted your mental health? But definitely just getting the conversation of Alzheimer's out there, letting people know that having mental illness or having mental health problems starting at the age of 20 or 30 puts you on that track really kind of helps people to understand, just like you said in the beginning of the interview, that Alzheimer's is not an old people disease. I know heavily in the community, and a lot of it is to do with social media, TV, and movies, painting the picture of Alzheimer's as only something that people that are in their 80s and 90s get, and you just lose your memory and that's all. People don't necessarily understand the detriment that Alzheimer's puts on a person's body and also on that person's family. So we will actually go into our question 4, kind of reworded a little bit. How do you feel that Alzheimer's can affect that person's mental health as well as the mental health of their family members?
Oh my God, let's start with the financial responsibilities behind it. Alzheimer's, in my opinion, is, if not the, definitely one of the most expensive diseases in the world. It's $1 billion industry. It's on track to bankrupt our healthcare system. And the reason why is because of the care. Caring for someone who has Alzheimer's is extremely expensive. And if you're not saving for a rainy day right now or have life insurance with living benefits, this is going to bankrupt your whole family. So if you are struggling financially, right, because that was one of the biggest issues with the pandemic, just
Right.
imagine what that's doing to your mental health. That was part of the mental health crisis, right? You can't afford to eat right.
Right.
Can't afford to pay for the roof over your head. You can't afford, you can't afford, you can't afford. Money was a problem. So that money issue is affecting your mental health, not only for the whole family, but to now just imagine what it's doing for the loved one who has Alzheimer's.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of, I would definitely say Alzheimer's is something that a lot of people don't look into. And it's not necessarily that the conversation isn't there. It's more so that in the Black community and in America as a whole, Alzheimer's is immediately related to memory loss and death. So it's that a lot of people don't want to look at that. A lot of people don't want to have to look at their own mortality or their family's mortality and have to understand that at some point in time, these difficult conversations are going to happen. Like, I know my mother, as a 100% African American woman who has issues with her memory now, is definitely on that track to be on Alzheimer's. And it's something I don't necessarily want to talk about, but we know that we have to. So I, once again, very much so appreciate Puzzle 2020. I very much so appreciate your cause and what you're pushing for. So as we kind of round this out and end off on question 5, so we can hit our cause, what are some suggestions that you would have for listeners, for viewers watching this? What do you suggest that they do starting at a young age, such as 30? And at the same time, what do you suggest for our listeners who are in their late 50s, in their late 60s? What are your suggestions?
Dress better. And that's actually an acronym, right? Diet, relax, exercise, sleep, and stress management.
I love,
All of those things.
I love that. I'm literally about to like write that on my mirror somewhere.
We have, and I would say the 2 or maybe 3 like main ones that we can all start is sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is so important. All of this staying up late and scrolling through social media or whatever it is that you're doing way in the midnight hours. I get it. We have work, we have deadlines. I understand that. But if you don't sleep, you're going to die. All of that, I die when I sleep, you're going to die if you don't.
If you
Don't
don't
sleep.
sleep, you're going to
Right,
answer
right,
that question for yourself.
right. Because here's one of the things that sleep does for your brain, it detoxes your brain. So when you go to sleep, your brain is actually turning the lights off in your body, right? So your body can rest, have a good night's rest. And then in your brain, it's getting rid of all the toxins you took in from the day. Not just what you ate, but what you read, what you watched, who you talk with, what you've done, the environment you're sitting in. And Lord forbid you sitting under these bright lights, under AC all day in a building somewhere. Your brain needs time to detox all of that. And if you're only every night getting a couple of hours of sleep, then you wondering why the next day you waking up groggy or you can't quite, everything is like a brain fog, and now you're irritable, right? Now you're anxious. Now you're stressed and depression starts to set in. Well, a lot of those things happen because we're not getting proper sleep. Exercise is another one. We have to move around. Do what you did in gym, right? 100 jumping
Right.
jacks. Right. That's how they started. Here's why exercising is important for your brain. When you're exercising, your blood is circulating. When your blood is circulating, you're getting that fresh oxygen to your brain, the main thing it needs. But if you have this sedentary lifestyle where you're just sitting all day, your blood is still, your brain isn't getting the oxygen it needs, right? And then lastly, eat well. I won't say diet. I mean, yes, I use that as, part of dress, but diet always sounds like there's some restriction, what you can, right? As opposed to with a healthy lifestyle, right? Yes, incorporate more fruits and vegetables, specifically more greens, more berries. Those are really fuel for your brain. But just being mindful of your intake of sugar and salt. Those are the biggest things, right? And that's practically in everything. So just really monitoring that. And for me, I know what works well for my DNA and my blood type. I can't tell you what to eat for your DNA and blood type. However, I don't think water intake has ever killed anybody, right?
I don't think vegetables has ever been too
Right.
much for somebody.
Right. And fruit, depending on what it is, more of your tropical fruits, your like papayas, they'll have like a higher sugar content. But again, that's why I said, have berries. Watermelon may also be good because we know that that's heavy water, in watermelon. So just really taking care of yourself. See a therapist. Therapist should be our friend.
Yeah. Yes, 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 definitely that one. Definitely that one. Well, I, for a fact, will definitely be taking dress with me. I love that acronym, and I definitely want to thank you alone for giving us that nugget of information. Make sure you all are taking home and understanding that Alzheimer's heavily affects people much earlier than this when it starts to show signs. You are extremely at risk if you are African American, if you are a woman, and if you're an African American woman, even more so. So we definitely want to thank you again for coming on, for giving us this amazing information, and for being a part of the Mental Elephant. How can our listeners or viewers get in contact with you, follow you, or interact with you if they want to touch base after our interview?
All right, well, they can go to our website, puzzle2020.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Puzzle2020. And then we also do sell our gratitude bank
Yes, yes.
here. And we do have different images and different colors. So please check that out. Like, I cannot stress enough how writing down what you're grateful for, it works. We just have to do it. I tell people it's like Wi-Fi. You can't see Wi-Fi, but you know it's working.
And you need it. You know that you need it. You know, if you don't
Right.
need your Wi-Fi, you are going to be through the roof. But
Absolutely.
yes, if you are interested in getting a gratitude box, definitely please head over to puzzle2020.com. I know I plan on getting a gratitude box. I absolutely love the idea. So again, I want to thank you for this amazing opportunity. Thank you for coming on here and speaking with us. And I cannot wait to see what Puzzle 2020 has for us in the future. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back again for another episode of 5 Questions, 1 Cause with somebody from your community. Peace.